Hey guys, welcome back to Fairwinds RV. I'm Candace, this is Jeremy, and this week we are bringing you some mods, hacks, and accessories that we've done to our rig to make it more user-friendly for us. We're going to leave it up to you though to decide which is which. Is it a mod, a hack, or an accessory? So follow along with us as we discuss each one, and let's get started.
All right, we're gonna kick this off with one of our favorites, which is the dishwasher. We actually just got this installed. If you remember from the last video, we said we were getting ready to get this. So we opted for a Farberware. This thing was about 300 bucks on Amazon, and it is the perfect size to fit inside of this island without too much modification. It was super easy to install, and it fits perfectly in this island. And the only thing that I really had to do was I had to take off the doors, obviously, and then there was like a fascia or a trim piece down here that I had to remove, and this thing fits in here perfectly. So a lot of people buy the Fisher Paykel brand, but that thing's like 800 bucks, and I'm not sure why everybody goes with that one, but we've used this one several times so far, and it has operated flawlessly. So there were a couple of things that I had to do to get this in here because the plumbing connections weren't exactly right, but I had to buy just a couple of barb connectors or barb adapters to fit on the hoses, and I'll put those links down in the description area. And since we're here, the second thing on our list here is these Govee water sensors. We have these all over the rig. And as you can see here, I've got a couple behind and below the dishwasher because we just want to make sure that we've got a water sensor everywhere we have a source of water. Sticking with the kitchen and the dishes theme, the second item we have here is this dish rack. Again, got it on Amazon. I think it was about 25 or 30 bucks. Again, I'll put the link down in the description area. But even though we have the dishwasher now, we still use this dish rack quite often, especially when, you know, we just have something to drink, maybe a glass of wine or something. We'll come over here, rinse the glass off, and then just stick it on the drying rack. That way it's kind of more organized than just having those types of dishes just sitting all over the counter.
Something else that we bought is this magnetic knife strip. We had one in our old rig that was, I think it was a little bit shorter. This one though, we've got a longer space, so we went with the 20-inch, and it holds pretty much anything that's metal. So I've got our knives up here, frequently using these when I'm cooking. So I've got those popped up there. Meat thermometer, this is amazing. It also has a magnetic piece on the back, so it just sticks right there. Something else that we bought for the kitchen is this turntable Lazy Susan. The specific reason why I got this one though is because of these 5-inch sides. Because I'm storing my bottles in here, so all my vinegars, my oil, things like that. I do not want them tipping out on drive days. And so I searched long and hard on Amazon for the taller ones. A lot of them come in, they're really short, or they might be about here, but I was just worried that these taller bottles would just flip over. So this just sits right in here, and then I can just spin it to access whatever it is I need. Like we mentioned in several of our previous videos, we love this refrigerator, but there are a few things that we've had to get used to. One is that there's no locking mechanism on here, so we had to buy this shower grab bar. You just pop that on, and that baby ain't going anywhere. So we put that on drive days, and the doors stay nice and shut. So to go along with the theme of keeping stuff in the fridge, my mother-in-law actually recommended putting the tension rod vertically instead of horizontally, which hopefully will keep these two shelves from pushing forward, because we have had that issue with the shelf actually sliding forward and then dumping into the door. And then the other thing, and a friend of mine recommended these, are these containers. So all of our stuff lives in here when we're traveling. All of this stuff will also be transferred. We have more of these containers sitting out, and everything heavy is going to go down here on this bottom shelf, which will leave the doors pretty much empty except for maybe like fruits and vegetables, which if they bounce shouldn't be too bad. So if we're gonna be in an area for any length of time, I'm talking a couple weeks, couple months, one of the first things I do is remove the magnets from the cabinets or whatever closing mechanism you have. So as you can see, this one's kind of hard. I've left the magnet in there, but it's just kind of a pain to open. So what we did is removed the magnetic strip here, and it makes it much easier to open. I also did that with the drawers that we get into frequently. And so I just took all of those magnet pieces, put them in a zippy bag, and those are stored with our travel day stuff. So typically the day before we hit the road, I'll go ahead and reinstall those. As you can see up here, they're held on with just one screw, so it's really easy, even for me, to get popped back on really quickly.
All right, our last video, when we gave you the tour, we showed you what was behind door number 1 out here in the basement. Today, we're gonna show you what is behind door number 2. This is my favorite mod that we've done to this rig so far. So before I open this door, I'll just tell you that I have no problem with cats. What I really don't like though is cats in my RV. And more specifically, I don't like the cat litter box in the RV. So this mod makes it so that our cats now have access to just a portion of our basement, and that's where we have their food and their litter box. And our RV is much cleaner and it smells better. So here we go. All right, so this is the part of the basement that we gave the cats. And as you can see, I've walled this whole section in so that they're confined to this one space. And then back here, we have a cat door that actually comes in from below the steps that go up to the kitchen, through the wall, and then back into this area. So the bigger plan originally was to give them a much bigger space out here, kind of a catio area where they could come hang out in the summertime, and we could leave these doors open and then just kind of have this, you know, sectioned off with some screen or something. But I don't have a problem with cats. I like cats just fine. I just don't like them that much. So I kind of scrapped that idea and just gave them their own area for their litter box and their food. And then as you can see over here, we've got an automatic cat feeder. So this is a smart cat feeder, and I think we have it programmed now to feed the cats, I think 3 times a day. So we don't have to worry about it anymore. All we got to do is just make sure the container is full of food. And then, like I said, 3 times a day, it spits out some food. And they're actually just now, I think we've had this in for a couple of months now, and they're just now, I think, learning the sound of this thing. So when this thing goes off, it makes a little bit of a noise and the cats come running out. So as you can see here, it's all contained, and it really helps because we had, before I put these walls up, we had just cat litter everywhere in this basement, and it didn't smell real good. The other thing that I did was I just put an air freshener in there so that, you know, it is a cat box, and it is, you know, it's an enclosed cat box, but I just wanted to make sure that the basement doesn't just smell like a cat box all the time. So let's go inside real quick and take a look at what the other side of that opening looks like. This is what it looks like from the inside. I've got my hole cut in the wall, and basically these cats, they just kind of crawl through the stairs, shimmy their way through that hole. I made the hole just big enough so Bella, who's our fatso cat, can kind of squeeze through there and get into that back area. So to be honest, this wasn't totally my own idea. When we were down in Mississippi, we saw a rig down there that had turned their entire basement area down there into a catio. And so that's really what got me to thinking about this. I don't know how they set it up, how their cats got in there, but this little wall right here, I knew went straight into the basement, and it just provided a real good opportunity to let those cats just kind of go in and out freely to do their business and eat their meals without us, you know, really having to deal with the mess all the time. And then also, we have a dog that likes to get into both the cat food and the cat litter, so this really solves that problem as well. Now, if we could just get the cats to stop eating the dog food, that'd be great. Okay, so we are pretty much done. I think I'm gonna need to get some trim work to put around the opening here, some of that corner trim, not a real big deal. And now that I'm feeling this, I need to put a couple of small nails in here, some tacks in here to hold that. But it is pretty much done. I just got to put the stairs back. I'll take care of the trim on a different day. We've been walking around here for about 24 hours now with no stairs. So as you can see in here, it's just a little cubby that the cats can go through to get into that back storage area. It wasn't very difficult. It has taken me probably 4 or 5 hours to get it done. And then, like I said before, part 2 of this project is gonna be in the storage area. But for this right now, I'm just gonna put the stairs back up, and we are gonna save the trim work for another day. Now, if you don't know that we really love our wine, then you should be watching more of our videos. So this one's kind of a goofy hack, but here it is. So because we drink so much wine, we typically buy boxed wine. The problem with boxed wine is this. So these things have a little spout on it at the bottom of the bag, and this little spout pulls out here, and it's never really in the right position, and you really got to struggle with it. So one of the things that I discovered a couple weeks ago is simply this. I just take the lid off of this box and just use a pair of scissors, cut the top right off of this sucker. Super important hack, at least for us. Make sure you don't cut the bag. I almost cut the bag right there. Once the top's off, you just pull this thing out, and it's normally in there cockeyed. I just kind of twist it a little bit to get everything straight. Put it back down in there, and then my pour spout is generally straight up and down, and much, much easier to use. Now, a bonus to this is when this bag starts to get empty, it's hard to get that wine out of there. So again, once you get to that point, you just lift this thing up by the bag like this, and it makes it much easier to get those last delicious drops of wine out of that bag. All right, we're moving through these quickly. We're now in the bathroom. There are 4 or 5 things in here. So the first one is the shower head itself. So when we bought the rig, it actually had one of those rain head shower heads on it, which to me are kind of useless in an RV. They look nice, but they're not super functional. So we found this shower head here again on Amazon. If you haven't noticed, we're kind of Amazon junkies. I can't remember the brand off the top of my head, but again, I will put that down in the description area. And I like 3 things about this shower head here. So number 1 is the spray pattern. I really like the spray pattern. Number 2, it uses enough water, but not too much water. I think I measured it out at about just over 2 gallons per minute. So, when you're boondocking, you're not wasting too much water. And then 3, even though you're not using a lot of water, it still has some pretty decent pressure. Now, before we got this one, we actually tried one of the oxygenics as well. But the problem with that is number 1, we couldn't find it in black. Number 2, I couldn't find a decent one, or I can't remember if I found one at all that didn't have the long hose on it. And the one that we bought specifically, that hose was super stiff, and it never really just kind of straightened out. So you just had this big gaggle of hose just kind of hanging right here in the way. And then the other thing about the oxygenics was it actually didn't give us enough flow to keep our tankless or on-demand water heater going. So it would kind of cycle on and off, which meant that you obviously had these short bursts of cold water while you're trying to take a nice hot shower. That just didn't work out for us. Okay, the second here is you can see that we've got these glass doors, and we like to keep those relatively clean. So we've got this squeegee here with a suction cup mount. This works out perfectly for us, and it again has a suction cup mount, and we just put it right there. Works out perfect. All right, next up is these little adhesive holders that we have for razors, washcloths, whatever you need to hang in your shower. These things have been up for a few months now. Haven't had any problems with them falling down. So that's again, a cheap solution. All right, the last couple of things in the bathroom are number 1, and this was super weird for us, but the tracks for the doors, obviously they've got some holes in the bottom, which allows the water, when it comes down the door, to drain back into the bathtub. The problem was some of that water wasn't going back into the shower, it was actually coming out onto the floor. So I just bought this like adhesive weather stripping type stuff, and I just ran it along the bottom of the door track. So the bottom half of this is sticky, the top of it is not, and it just sticks up there, and that's enough to keep the water from coming out onto the floor when we're taking a shower. And then the last one here is our shower drain protector. It's kind of gross, pull that out of there, but that's our shower drain protector. It keeps all the hair and lint and all that kind of stuff from getting down and clogging up our drains. The one that was originally in the unit was super cheap and super flimsy, and Literally, I think the first time I stepped on it, it bent and it was just kind of useless after that. And this is the same one that we used in the last rig. So we've had it for several years, probably close to 3 years now. We've been using the same one.
We did this in the last rig, but we still use it in this rig because these washing machines use far less soap than your residential units. So I just bought these. These I think came from Walmart. They were, I don't know, $1.97. They're just little soap dispensers. This one has fabric softener. This one has laundry detergent. And most of these units require about 1 to 2 tablespoons of each per load. So I just figured out how many pumps equal a tablespoon, which ends up being about 8 pumps. And so what I do is I just pull it in here and measure out 8 pumps of each. But we just pump that into there, close it up, get it started. One of our most recent additions is this curtain rod. It is a tension curtain rod. And we also bought these holders for it so that we can mount it up here and it's not gonna move when we're driving down the road because there is a little bit of flex as you're driving. So this is up here because I don't really dry very many of my clothes. And so I can just go ahead and hang them and they sit here to dry. It's out of the way. In our last RV, we had taken out the shower doors and replaced it with a curtain. So I was just able to use the shower to hang all my clothes. But here we're going to go ahead and keep the shower doors for as long as we like them, which at this point we do. So I needed another solution. So this just sits right up there. It's out of the way. It's kind of hidden almost. All right, so we forgot this during our bathroom segment, but one of the things that we found is the door has this magnet catch, and it made opening this door really, really hard. You almost had to like break a nail trying to open it. So we just took out the magnet strip and now it just slides freely. We don't worry about anybody really popping in on us. If the door is shut, that means it's in use. If the door's open, you're free to enter.
Several things to point out here right in the entryway. These were pretty cool mods. We really enjoyed these. So number one is I got some shelving and just cut them down to size and put them in here because this was just one big large storage area, which made it kind of useless. So the shelving really helps us to just really jam more stuff in here, really. They don't quite match, but guess what? We're the only ones that ever see them and they're super functional. Up here, we just got a couple of, sticky hooks for our keys. Actually got a couple of more that I need to replace because I wanted to put my EcoFlow. These are remote controls for my EcoFlows in here. They're currently not on, so they're not doing anything. But, when you're living in an RV, you're trying to find just spots to put anything because we're limited in space. Don't be afraid to take full advantage of the inside of these doors on any of these cabinets. And so the last one that we have here in this area is our shoe rack. We went and bought a hanging shoe rack. Previously in our old rig, we had one of those shoe racks that it wasn't really a rack. It was kind of like a bed skirt, and then you just put your shoes in that bed skirting, if you will. That was kind of a pain in the neck because number one, anytime you wanted to put your shoes on, you had to go into the bedroom to do it. And number two, you couldn't really see what you were doing. They were hard to get in and out. So this helps out a lot. It gives us space for, I think 2 or 3 pairs of shoes each. And this is kind of our daily shoes that we wear. Everything that we wear less frequently is all stored in the closet. But this is a super cool little accessory or upgrade. Puts it right next to the door, where our shoes need to be.
So the only thing that we really did in the living room was to add some extra storage to these cabinets. It was just this giant cavernous space. Previously, everything that we had in here had to be stacked just on top of each other. So if you wanted something on the bottom, you had to remove all the stuff on top, which was just really a pain. So it's enabled us to organize a little bit better. Now we do have to be careful not to overload this space because just with all RVs, you want to be really careful with your weight. So we didn't put more stuff in here. We were just able to separate it so we no longer have to do that shuffle.
That's gonna wrap it up for this segment, I think, guys. We kind of walked through this fairly quickly. We didn't want to drag it out. We didn't want to take up too much of your time, but we did want to show you some of the neat and kind of cool upgrades and additions that we've done to this thing so far. So we've only had it for a couple of months. That's what we've done so far. We've got some other things coming. We're gonna add some micro air products to this rig, probably at least one of their wireless thermostats. And then also we need to get some of their soft starters, 1 or 2 soft starters in the air conditioners themselves on the roof, so that we can use those AC units when we don't have that full 50 amps of electrical power. So those are some things that are coming, and as we get those installed, we'll make sure to show you how that goes. So again, that's gonna wrap it up for this segment. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit that bell button, because that's what's gonna notify you of all of our future videos. So as always, happy camping and stay safe out there, guys.